all this preparation that goes into the movies, and then when you also know that no matter what you do, you cannot control its destiny in terms of success or even the way people react to it, how helpless do you feel as an actor?
Completely, and very insecure. But that's what makes us actors.
So what makes it worth it?
The money is great, no complaints. The lifestyle is fantastic. It's tough, but it's rewarding. But yes, with all these things, the best part of it is the love that you receive from your audience. Because
Abhishek, that's a cliche. You can do better.
No, I'm not kidding. I said everything is great. But at the end of the day, when you walk somewhere and somebody comes up to you, it could be one person, and says, you know, we loved you in that film. You really made a difference. I think just knowing that you have the ability to alter somebody's life for albeit 3 hours, but you've altered someone's life, put a smile on their face. That's very empowering. Yeah. Initially, my films weren't working, and
that's an understatement.
Yeah, of huge proportions. But yeah, I gave 17 flops in a row, which has to be some sort of record. I was very down and out, and literally just going with the flow. I didn't know what was going on because everything I did was going wrong.
Let's talk about those 17 films. I know they're distant past.
Distant past in time,
yeah,
not in my head. It's something that wakes me up in the middle of the night till date. Because when you're experiencing it, it's hell. When you come out of it, when you give your first hit, it's ecstasy. After that, you just panic because you don't want to go back to that state. So now it isn't, you're not being complacent and saying, okay, you know, I'm one of the few actors in history who's given 7 hits in a row. Okay, you know, I'm okay, I'm getting it right. No, you're actually saying, wait a second, I don't want to go back to that. I don't want to be taken back to that time because it was hell.
Why do you think you had to go through that? Was that in your head? How have you come to terms with that? Were they wrong choices, poor guidance, destiny, that you had to pay your dues? Because on the one hand, you were Amitabh Bachchan's son,
I think it's
and
destiny,
you had all this access.
Destiny, that's what was destined for me to do. I didn't help my destiny. I feel destiny and karma literally go hand in hand in a sense. You have to make your own destiny as well. I think, and I've said this before, I think the problem was me. I just wasn't prepared, I wasn't ready.
But did you think it would be easy because of who you were?
No, I didn't
because you thought it would come naturally?
No, that I always knew that I was going to be taken to the cleaners for. Having said that, I still wasn't as prepared as I should have been. And I say that in retrospect. At that point in time, I didn't think so. When you're young, I was 21 when I was signed for my first film. You know, I had a foreign education. I did my schooling in Switzerland. Then I went to Boston for my university. I came back, I left my education, came back, helped my dad, worked in my dad's production company, and then started looking for a job. And didn't get a job for a year, which many people don't believe. I was at that point in time, you know, meant to be, okay, he's Amitabh Bachchan's son, he's not going to have a problem. For a year, close to 30 directors said no, they didn't want to work with me. And the top of the line directors, a lot of whom I went on to work with afterwards, they didn't work with me. Then finally one day, by the grace of God, JP Saab walked in and offered me a film. I wasn't, I still feel, despite all that, I was still, today I feel I could have been so much more prepared. I could have been so much better. I could have worked a lot more on myself. But I think it was also important to go through that because I went through that, today I can turn around and say, okay, I should have been better. I think I've had the ability to recognize what my problems were, which I didn't at that point in time. You're young, you're arrogant, you're brash, you're full of energy, zest for life, and you just want to go and achieve. And you think on some level that you're indestructible, you know, nothing can affect you. And then life has a fantastic way of cutting you to size and telling you that, wait a second, you know, you're going to have to earn it. And when I mean earn it, I wasn't saying like, oh yeah, you know, I'm Mr. Bachchan's son, it's just going to come to me. But what I thought was good enough evidently wasn't, and I had to do a lot more. It's
difficult to talk to you without talking about your family. And from what I've read and heard of you, you don't mind that at all. In fact, you seem to almost overtly and aggressively preempt the questions about family.
Right. I am here today because I am Amitabh and Jaya Bachchan's son. I am here today because I'm Harivansh Rai Bachchan's grandson. I have what I have because of my parents, because of my name, and because of them being in my life. Having said that, I'm still the only star son who's never worked in his father's production. Pa, which is a film I'm producing, a film I'm in charge of, is going to be my first AB Corp production. I've worked for 10 years. My father didn't launch me. He didn't have the money to at that point of time. And he told me, and I think it was a huge burden on him. He actually sat me down and said, I'm feeling bad because I should be introducing you to this world. I should be taking care of you, but I don't have the money to, and I'm very sorry. And that day I decided that I will never allow my father to say that ever again, to say I'm sorry I couldn't do this for you. And I never wanted him to feel that. That was a huge pressure for me to become successful. And when my films weren't working, that was one of the major things that got to me. That I promised myself that I'd make my father proud. I promised him that I would never make him regret not being able to do what traditionally fathers are expected to do for their sons. And year after year, film after film, I failed. And that killed me more than not being able to make a successful film. My biggest joy was when I did Guru and my father saw the trial. He just hugged me and cried and said, "You are my son and I'm proud of you." And that was what I wanted. And so I believe that I am what I am because of my parents. I believe that if my name was Abhishek Sharma, I wouldn't be here. People seeing this right now might be saying, like, how arrogant, people who don't have it. Yeah, fine. But I see it wasn't my choice. I was born to my parents. That's God's grace. I'm not going to hold that against them. I'm not going to use that as an albatross around my neck. Why should I? That's unfair.
But
you don't blame, say, Kumar Mangalam ji for becoming a businessman because his grandfather and his father were in the industry and he took over their reins. It's considered a natural succession. So why am I being crucified for it?
My question just now was not to crucify at all, but really to find out about your personal ego and where how it relates to.
And that's again in two parts. One, I've never been that kind of person. I'm not an egoist kind of a guy. I've always been a realist. I'm not modest at all. I'm a realist. I call it as it is because I've always realized that in life that just makes it easier. One. Okay. Two, what are you having an ego about? And about whom? I mean, come on, let's get it very straight. People don't realize. They say, how do you deal with it? You're Amitabh Bachchan's son, the fame, the fortune, the beautiful wife, the successful mother. How do you deal? I said, I live with Amitabh Bachchan.
I can deal with anything.
I can deal with anything. I mean, come on, look at what my standard is. If he can, and he has, and he still leads the life with the humility that he does, and being so grateful, why am I going to go out of whack? I go home and I sleep in the same house as Amitabh Bachchan, so I'm completely grounded.
This conscious and emotional and sometimes even practical building of a dynasty, of reiterating the legacy, the heritage of the Bachchan name, is it not on the back of individualism? Is that somewhere a trade-off?
It's never struck me, and it hasn't struck my family. The way I feel towards my father feels towards his. And he genuinely believes that he is what he is because of his father. He has never been individualistic about it. He's never said that I have to pioneer and do what I have to do and then I can build my career. I think we're a family who's proved that if you're a tight unit, everything falls in place. And by the grace of God and the audience, it has so far. We've never been individuals about it. We've always been a family. We have, if we're in town, a meal together. It's a basic thing. If we go out to a public function, we want to go together. It's not about going separately and I want to get photographed separately because I have to worry about my brand. It's not that. We just, I firmly believe at the end of the day, these things pale in comparison to what you're actually meant to be doing. We have secretaries, we have managers, we have publicists, we have this, we have that, everything to protect us, to make our lives easier, to support the building of a brand. We do product endorsements, you do appearances, you do shows, you do films. I firmly believe, yes, that is all necessary. But at the end of the day, if your film isn't working, none of it is going to matter. It really doesn't matter. If we as a family weren't making successful and memorable films, nobody would give us wouldn't even look at us twice. They wouldn't. I was Amitabh Bachchan's son. Refugee flopped. After that, nobody even looked at me.